Hi, I'm Art,
And I'm Tony,
and we're here from
gardenmasterswithaz.com. And today we're going to take some garden tours. And guess what?
We are going to talk about lilies.
It's all about the lilies. Want to know about lilies? Well, stay tuned and you'll find out.
Is it a daylily or is it asiatic?
Or is it Stargazer? Well, let's explore a little bit more, shall we?
What is that?
What's in the woods? Should we run? Before we get into the garden tour, I wanted to show you this daylily catalog from Brex, the company that sells lots of different types of plants. I'd highly recommend that if you're interested, you can get this catalog because look at all the daylilies that are available in this catalog. Just incredible, all the different ones. Just so beautiful. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention is the difference between daylilies and other regular lilies, which are Asiatic and Oriental lilies. The daylilies have foliage that's similar to grass, and it kind of looks like that when the daylilies stop blooming. You have a nice ground cover, whereas the Asiatic and Oriental lilies, the foliage is not like that at all, and the blooms all come out on one single stem. Also keep in mind that most daylilies only bloom for one single day, and you'll find out much more about that as we talk in the video. If you buy lilies from Brex, they will come bare root in plastic bags, and you would normally plant these and buy them in the spring or in the fall. Now, they do sell daylilies at big box stores and nurseries in pots already blooming. And if you want to buy one of those, keep in mind that you can do that and you can bring them home and plant them right away, or just let them finish blooming and plant them then. Or, if you just want to use them as a one-time thing, of course, you could toss them after that. But the main thing to keep in mind is if you're buying lilies at the store and they have big, beautiful blooms, keep in mind they don't bloom for that long. So by the time you get them home, they may be on their way out. So if you're thinking about buying a lily from a store, always look for the ones that don't have blooms yet or have just started to open so that you can get the most amount of enjoyment from the blooms. Okay, well, let's get on with the garden tour now, shall we? These are some more daylilies. They're yellow. Their blooms are a little bit small. This is our garden. This is one of our gardens here. And we're not sure what type it is, but they make a nice border at the top of this garden. Below there is a rock wall, and then we have a flat area where we plant annuals, and it just makes a nice presentation in the back. And these stay green like this all summer long. They'll finally die off and get brown, but until then, it's a very nice presentation, don't you think?
Yes, and these bloomed probably, I want to say, a good 3 or 4 weeks ago. So they're one of the early daylilies.
And we were late getting our annuals in, so by the time we got them in, these were on their way out. I would have loved to have taken this video while these were blooming and our annuals were in, but it just didn't happen this year. Life gets in the way sometimes.
So this is a beautiful lily that we've planted. This is different from the daylilies. Now down there, Tony, is a daylily. Totally different foliage on it. This one is grown from a bulb and it comes up, and different varieties grow different heights. This one is a Stargazer.
Stargazer, huh?
And I tell you, so fragrant. Now I want to go over here.
These lilies are in our garden, by the way. Later on, we're going to take you to another garden.
So this one is called the Casablanca. These are very famous around the holidays in Christmas arrangements. I always like to have them because they're very fragrant and they go great with red flowers, red roses, red carnations, whatever.
I see some
But
more buds there.
we do have more buds.
It's going to look really beautiful when they're all blooming. Hopefully they'll bloom about the same time.
And I tend to stake them up because these are on the edge of the woods. They tend to want to go towards the light. So today I just staked them, and once they get their flower bloom on them, they tend to want to tip over. So this is what we call our lily garden. It needs to be renovated. Now at the base of that pine tree is Lily of the Valley.
Lily of the Valley.
Kind of a lily.
These are lilies too. They're
Lily
mostly a ground
of
cover.
the valley.
They bloom. They bloomed a little bit earlier, but the blooms are very insignificant. Little tiny white flowers.
So we've decided that we're going to pull out the Lily of the Valley in the front and put more lilies in this
Regular
garden.
lilies, or Asiatic lilies.
Asiatic and
And-
daylilies. So we do have the grouping of daylilies. And as you see, this daylily was, it's done blooming, and you want to cut these stems off. So these are some more Asiatic lilies. They came on probably 3 weeks ago. Those were all orange. So as you set up a lily garden, you want to use different ones that bloom at different times to give you color, over a couple months or whatever. Now this one here was
Beautiful.
our pride. As you can see, it's as tall as me. Keep in mind when you're buying lilies of their height, their fragrance, their bloom time, because you want to spread that out.
Spread the bloom times out. Yep.
That's right. So this one I've tied to the trellis.
But you can see in the picture how beautiful it was.
When we drive in at night, it must be 40, 50 feet from here. You can smell these blooms.
You can, yep.
And in the morning, you can also smell them. They smell mostly in the later part of the day and in the early morning. When we're on our tropical deck and eat breakfast in the morning, we can enjoy these.
So next, we're going to head over to our neighbors, Pat and Barry. Both are avid gardeners. Both love their plants. And they have some interesting lilies blooming as well. So come on, Art. Let's go over.
Okay. And they specialize in daylilies.
Yep. So Art, before we go over, what is a daylily and how does it differ?
Well, daylilies, it's the name points it out. A daylily is a flower that lasts for one day. Daylily. Now, the Asiatic, the flowers will last several days, but you'll get more blooms on them that will come out
Over time.
exactly like the daylily, but this is all on one stem, and those are several stems.
The
on
daylilies are several stems, yes. And the flower buds come out and bloom for one day only. And once they die, there's more buds coming, and then they bloom and die, and there's more buds that next bloom the next day. So you have constant blooming for a couple of weeks until they finally give out, and that's the end of them for the year. But then the foliage stays, and it's a very nice foliage for the garden. All right, let's move on, shall we?
Okay, let's go to Pat and Barry's.
So this is our next door neighbor, Pat. Say hi, Pat.
Hello.
And she's going to educate us on daylilies.
So this part we're talking about daylilies, and daylilies bloom for one day versus the Asiatic. Is that how you pronounce it?
Asiatic.
Asiatic.
One day only?
Each flower.
These things are called scapes. And I actually read that there is a daylily. I should pull out the catalog I just got from Brex. They have daylilies that will get like 90 scapes in their time. So you could conceivably have 90 days of bloom with that one.
Really?
And there
Wow.
are also daylilies now that repeat bloom. So you'll get 2 blooms. You cut them back and let them come up again.
Oh, nice.
That's new to me, brand new information. But this is my old, from my friend, Judy Gibson. And that one,
Beautiful.
and that one is,
So go back to that one
Yeah.
because Pat was telling about how it was hybridized.
hybridized.
Yeah, yeah.
And these are all hybrids along here.
And we're going to have a separate video about that because I
Yes.
find it extremely interesting.
So it's called Judy Gibson because it was hybridized for Judy. So
She has her own lily. Can you imagine that?
Well, and think
That's-
about,
yeah.
roses. David Austin roses are really famous. They're all, same thing. He's named them for people, a lot of times people he knew. Like Gertrude Jekyll, who was she like invented landscape gardening in England. And he has, and I want one, and I want to plant it here. I'm going to I've moved this somewhere, and I want my Gertrude Jekyll here. It is the most fragrant rose. And, anyway, that's what and Barry, I think we had one, and it died in that terrible
freeze.
two winters and
Okay.
Remember when we had all the roses here?
Yeah.
Yes.
And most of them were knockouts, but we had a couple of special ones, and they had an incredible scent, those two. And one of them, I know now that I've seen the photo, that it was a Gertrude Jekyll. I'm convinced of it. You can buy them, in the nursery.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one thing I want Pat to point out is some of these daylilies are very fragrant.
Oh, really?
So they come in different colors, and they also, some of them are fragrant.
And usually, if you buy them at the nursery, it'll tell you on the package what their attributes are.
Okay.
So whether they are like fragrant or they're more more desirable because they produce more scapes. So you get more blooms.
I know that's one thing about, I never knew much about lilies and I still don't. So I'm really learning about those.
Yeah.
So
these actually still have, like this one's got, it's got a few more days to bloom for sure. And this has 2 more. So
And then it's done.
I know. So yeah.
one,
Yeah. So that one's coming up
two.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
2.
So now that one is, which ones are the fragrant ones?
This one's very fragrant. Usually at the end of the day and early in the morning.
Okay.
And so, let me see. Yeah, it has a nice perfume.
I'm smelling something. Maybe your perfume, but I'm smelling something.
I don't know.
Smelling very burgery now.
Yeah. So that one's very good. And I wish I could remember, and it'll come to me now that Judy Gibson has come to me. I know the other daylily. I think it's the red one. I think it's the little red one, but I can't remember. And I know, I knew the name, and I'm hoping I've got it written down somewhere.
I know. We're starting to plant different plants.
I don't know what this one is, but I'm going to try to find it eventually, because this one has been a great. I mean, we've really gotten a lot of performance out of this one. And as you can see, it's got lots more blooming to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that one had at least that many on yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I'm really happy with this one.
So that's great.
I want more lilies.
Yeah.
So that one up there.
Oh, wow.
Tony, you ought to get close to that
Yes.
one. That is not only, it's just big. It's
Yeah.
a big bloom. And it's tall, so you can, you can create, I'll tell you whether it would look great in your place, is that border you've made in the front.
Oh,
Behind the liripe. I don't know if you have room, but daylilies would work well there.
yes, they would.
Mm-hmm.
We only have Rebecca and
Yeah,
coneflower.
yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm just thinking.
so now that one up there is different too.
Yeah.
So Tony, there's one up by the stairs to the right.
Oh yeah, I see.
And even the one that's hanging over, that one had a pretty good bloom. Well, they all have.
And there you have it, all about lilies and a tour of our gardens and our neighbors. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Also, watch these other videos from our channel or subscribe to our free newsletter by going to gardenmasterswithaz.com/subscribe.